The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the back wall, cameras ready. Lawyers whispered strategies behind briefcases. Spectators scrolled through their phones until the door opened. Elon Musk stepped in, flanked by two attorneys. His face was calm, unreadable. At the front, Judge Edward Chen adjusted his glasses and stared down at the man the headlines couldn't stop talking about. "Mr. Musk," he began, tone dry. "You've been accused of violating data privacy regulations with your recent neural interface prototype." He flipped through a few papers theatrically, then looked up and chuckled. Not politely, mockingly. A rocket scientist now playing lawyer. This should be interesting. Laughter trickled through the courtroom. Elon didn't blink. He just nodded once, took a seat, and pulled a slim black folder from his briefcase. Chen wasn't finished. "Do you even understand what you're being accused of, Mr. Musk?" he asked, smirking. Elon looked up, voice cool and steady. "Better than you do, sir." That shut the room down. Chen leaned forward, irritated. "Oh, and do enlighten us. Are you claiming you know the law better than a federal judge?" Elon met his gaze. "No. I'm saying I know the future better than most people who are paid to protect it." More murmurs. One audible "damn" from the back row. But Elon wasn't there to spar. He was there to show them something they weren't ready to see. And tucked inside that folder was a blueprint, not just of code and hardware, but of a justice system that could evolve. A system where empathy didn't compete with law, where intelligence wasn't a threat, where the next move would leave even the judge speechless. Elon opened the folder slowly, deliberately. Inside, not just a defense statement, but schematics, charts, live case studies, and a flash drive. He handed it to his attorney, who passed it to the clerk. The clerk loaded it into the courtroom monitor. "Permission to present supplemental evidence," Elon said calmly. Judge Chen rolled his eyes. "Granted. Let's see what kind of sci-fi magic you brought us today." The lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life. First, video footage. A teenage girl in a hospital bed, her voice trembling. "My data was leaked. They used my diagnosis against me to deny insurance. It nearly ruined my life." Gasps echoed through the room. Then, graphs. Comparing traditional data security methods with what Elon's neural interface could actually achieve. Encryption layered on thought. Not just password protected, mind protected. "This isn't about avoiding regulation," Elon explained, stepping forward. "This is about building the next system before the current one collapses on people who can't afford to wait." He gestured to the screen. "These aren't products. They're protections." The room was silent now. Chen stared at the display, lips parted slightly. This wasn't a PR stunt. This was a mirror, and he didn't like what it showed him. Elon continued, not gloating, just grounded. "You asked if I knew the law," he said. "I do. I also know it's outdated. But I didn't come here to dodge it. I came to improve it." And as the final slide faded in, a visual roadmap labeled Digital Dignity Protocol, it was clear. This wasn't about winning a case. It was about rewriting what justice could mean in the age of machines. Judge Edward Chen sat motionless. His fingers tightened around the gavel, not to strike it, but to keep his hand from shaking. The screen in front of him still displayed the final slide. Digital Dignity Protocol. A human-centric future. The courtroom remained silent, not because Elon had crushed his opponent with legal jargon, but because he had done something far more disarming. He had told the truth. Chen cleared his throat, but no sound came. Finally, he leaned back and spoke, quieter than before. I saw a case last year," he muttered. "Kid lost his college scholarship because of a data breach. His mental health records were exposed. It wasn't even legal, but no one knew where to start." His voice trailed off, like it had run out of excuses. Elon didn't speak. He let the judge sit in that space. The weight of years pressing down. A courtroom full of people not looking at him with fear, but with disappointment. Chen looked down at his bench like it was a wall he'd built, and just now realized it blocked his view. He ran a hand over his face, sighed, then looked at Elon with something new in his eyes. not authority, humility. "You didn't come here to win," he said quietly. "No," Elon replied. "I came here to invite you in." And in that instant, the gavel didn't fall. It cracked, not from force, but from finally softening under the truth. The courtroom no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a classroom, or maybe a mirror. One by one, people began to shift in their seats. A young court clerk, barely out of law school, leaned forward, eyes wide. The jury whispered not to each other, but to themselves, as if processing something they had never considered until this very moment. Elon stepped back from the screen, letting the weight of his words settle like dust. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. For the first time, the silence was on his side. Judge Chen looked down at the file Elon had submitted. He ran a hand across its cover, almost like it was something fragile, something sacred. Finally, he looked up. "What do you want from this court, Mr. Musk?" he asked. But there was no condescension in his voice anymore. Elon exhaled softly. "I want us to stop pretending the future will wait for us to catch up," he said. "I'm not asking for a free pass. I'm asking for a fair path, one where innovation and responsibility grow side by side." The judge blinked, then, almost imperceptibly, nodded. The murmurs grew into a slow building applause, not chaotic, but warm, genuine, from the jury box, from the gallery, even from a few lawyers in the back who once rolled their eyes at every tech buzzword. Elon had come into the courtroom labeled a disruptor. He now stood as something else entirely, a bridge between worlds. And the people in that room? They were ready to cross. A week after the trial, Judge Edward Chen did something no one expected. He called a press conference, not to defend his past rulings, not to justify his courtroom behavior, but to announce a partnership. Standing beside Elon Musk, without a bench, without robes, he addressed a stunned room. "We've spent too long treating the legal system like a locked vault," he began. "But the world doesn't need vaults right now. It needs windows." He paused, glancing at Elon, then continued. "Today, we're launching the Judicial Insight Project, a collaborative initiative between legal minds and technologists aimed at rebuilding trust in the justice system. The project would use AI to track inconsistencies in sentencing. It would analyze racial bias in court outcomes. It would help regular citizens understand rulings with plain language breakdowns. This isn't about replacing judges," Elon added. "It's about helping them make better, fairer decisions, with the help of real-time data and ethical design." Reporters fired questions, skeptical at first, but then the stories rolled in. A teenager in Detroit used the open-source platform to successfully challenge an unfair eviction. A judge in Vermont changed her sentencing process after seeing a pattern of bias revealed by the tool. A single mother in Atlanta said it was the first time she felt like justice spoke her language. The courtroom had once divided Elon and Chen. Now, it connected them. And every new courtroom that adopted the system became part of a future that didn't fear change. It welcomed it. Because progress isn't just built in labs or courtrooms. It's built when people who once stood opposed choose to stand together. Months later, the Judicial Insight Project was no longer just a pilot. It was a movement. Courthouses from California to Kenya began integrating its tools. Law students used it in classrooms. Citizens used it to understand their rights, not just react to injustice, but prevent it. And in a quiet community center in San Jose, a group of middle schoolers gathered around tablets, running simulations of real court cases using the system's open interface. Judge Edward Chen walked in slowly, unannounced. He watched as a young girl, no older than 12, rewrote a hypothetical judgment, more fairly than he might have done in real life. He smiled. "I used to think wearing a robe meant I had all the answers," he said softly. Elon, standing behind him, replied, "And now you know, the answers live outside the bench." That night, at a rooftop celebration overlooking the city, a mural was unveiled. It showed a gavel cracking open like an eggshell, and from inside, a tree growing, its roots labeled truth. innovation, courage. At the bottom, one line, etched in metal. Justice doesn't begin in court. It begins when someone dares to see differently. Judge Chen stepped forward and placed something beneath the mural. His old gavel. A symbol of who he was and what he chose to become. Elon said nothing. He just looked at the stars, hands in his pockets, and breathed. Not as a defendant, not as a disruptor, but as someone who refused to let the future be judged by a broken past.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Subscribe for more inspiring stories.